What's up, everybody? Dr. Jaws here, and it's Shark Week. We have finally made it to 2024, or Shark Week 2024, and it's kind of cool. This is our second Shark Week ever, so glad to do year 2. This week we are doing the Hardnose Shark, but we are also taking a deeper look into shark science. And we're going to go into more details on the contest. So we have our annual Shark Week banner contest. It's actually really cool to come back for year 2, as far as like just... we had a really fun contest last year with the current banner, and it's cool to find the replacement for 2024, and July 21st is the last day of submissions for the new Shark Week banner. So, hey Minjus, welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend. Tonight we are covering, I think this was your species that you mentioned, is the Hardnose Shark, Carcharhinus macloti. So I couldn't find any footage of it, but I did find a lot of papers that have the species, but also have kind of like a nice tie-in to general shark science, like a lot of cool global reaching papers, which I think is really appropriate for the week. So. But hope you had a good weekend. I had a pretty fun time. My girlfriend and I went to Virginia Beach to pick up a dive computer, which I am wearing right now, which I'm really excited about. So this is, it looks like a watch. I mean, it actually technically is a watch, but it's a dive computer where it flips on when you go underwater. It calculates how much nitrogen, like when you go scuba diving, you always breathe in nitrogen. You're breathing a mix of like nitrogen and oxygen, and that nitrogen is absorbed into your body. And if you're diving at shallow depths, it's not harmful, but if you absorb too much of it, if you dive deeper or if you dive too frequently, it actually starts to have a dangerous effect, and it can create some severe problems. So partly like the bends, or if you were doing deep diving like nitrogen narcosis, which I think I talked about one stream, but it's you basically act drunk underwater, but you have to go very deep for that. So the dive computer keeps track of how much nitrogen is in your body and how much time you need to space between dives and how deep you can dive, so that you off gas, like you exhale or release nitrogen at a safe level, and so that when you keep absorbing it, you're maintaining like a safe level in your body. So it's really cool. It's a very helpful tool. It also keeps a track of your dive logs. So if you ever are in an emergency, they'll be able to take the computer's data, figure out where you went and how far down you were, and that helps you, like if you were ever in the emergency room, it helps doctors figure out like, do we have to take him to the decompression chamber? Is he okay? Like what happened? Is it like, a nitrogen problem, an oxygen problem? It's helpful. So it's a really good safety tool, but I really enjoy that it's a watch as well. So yeah, I'm usually not a watch guy, but it's pretty fun. So thank you. I appreciate the comment. Also I love this. I'm excited to learn about the Hardnose Shark and its nose. So, but yeah, I think with that, we'll dive in. Are you watching Shark Week at all, or the National Geographic Shark Fest by any chance? Because I think so. Discovery Channel famously has the Shark Week. National Geographic, I think, since the early 10s has started Shark Fest. Which is kind of like a rival, but and. I think it started out to be a little bit more tame, like a little bit more like the 90s Shark Week, and then I think, unfortunately, Shark Fest kind of developed some of the similar Shark Week problems as far as like sensationalism. So I'm not. Yeah, actually, like honestly, like I'm not either. And it's just because like I think Shark Week overall is okay. I would give it a C out of the things like. The shark-related programs that I watch, just because it's like it does showcase real scientists, but it also showcases a lot of junk, and it's very sensationalist, but it does get people like interested in sharks. It was kind of funny, like this channel gets an uptick of views and subscribers. I mean, as microscopic as it is, it does get an uptick during Shark Week, which is kind of fun. So, yeah. So I think it's a good opportunity to talk about all the sharks that we love. And if you or any other viewers, we have a couple so far right now. If you have any questions about sharks in general, please leave them in the chat, and I'll try my best to answer them. And I think with that, we'll dive in to the hardnose shark. So let's see. And I think 9:30, around 9:30 Eastern time, I'll kind of go into more contest rule details, or just kind of a reminder of the contest rules, just so we give people time to join the stream. So, but yeah. So hardnose shark, Carcharhinus macloti. This is a species that I'm not too familiar with. It is I believe it's an Indo-Pacific species. Let me make sure. Yes, it is. It's literally that. So ranging from Tanzania through the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, Indonesia, Northern Australia, and a couple populations in Japan. So we've got a nice little mix of summary files on, or summaries on the hardnose shark. So we'll take a look at that. So here we go. The hardnose shark is a small-bodied shark that inhabits continental shelf waters throughout the Indo-West Pacific region. It is caught in artisanal and commercial fisheries throughout its distribution. It is not as productive as similar small-bodied shark, for example, Rhizopyriodon. So Rhizopyriodon are the sharp-nosed sharks, making it more sensitive to fishing pressure. Oh, gotcha. Okay. So Rhizopyriodon, the sharp-nosed sharks, those are very... at least the Atlantic sharp-nosed shark, that gives birth every year. Like they actually have pups every year, which is kind of remarkable for sharks. Most sharks have like a 2-year reproductive cycle, or sometimes a 3-year reproductive cycle, where they will give birth for like 1.5 years, and then they'll gestation is 1.5 years, and then they'll take a 1.5 year long break. So the total cycle is 3 years. So Rhizopyriodon is uniquely fast, and it's interesting. Carcharhinus macloti, it's a similar sized shark, but it doesn't have the same reproductive potential, so it's more likely to be at risk. So it's pretty interesting. Globally, fishing pressure has likely caused less than 30% declines in population. In Australia, fishing pressure is strictly managed, therefore is assessed as globally near threatened, and in Australia as least concerned and sustainable. Interesting. Within Australia, the shark occurs from Bundaberg, Queensland, across the Northern Territory, and as far south as Carnarvon, Western Australia. I love these names. Let's see. There's no information on population structure, limited population size and trend data, but limited fishing pressure and well-managed fisheries suggest the population is sustainable. Awesome. So as we've talked about many times on the stream, Australia does a pretty great job as far as shark fisheries go, and as far as shark fisheries management goes. A lot of shark species that otherwise fare poorly in other parts of the world do really well in Australia, just because of how they manage their fisheries. So let's see. Habitat biology. The hardnose shark occurs in shallow and continental shelf waters and tropical waters of the Indo-West Pacific. It is a relatively fast-growing species that reaches maturity in 4 years. Oh, that's actually really quick. Its maximum size is at least 110 centimeters total length. The maximum age recorded is 12 years. Gotcha. All right. So let's see. We'll take a look at some photos. Actually, let's see if I wonder if we can get like maybe some living photos, because I do want to figure out where it got its name, and also some things we can identify. Let's see. These are kind of, I don't really like these images as much. So let's take a look at this one. This is probably a good starting point from Fishbase. Oh, actually this one is too. So here we go. Okay, so things that we can notice about this shark. Dorsal fin origin is right behind the pectoral fins. For body size, kind of a somewhat larger dorsal fin. A little bit of a falcate sickle shape with a nice trailing edge. The second dorsal fin has a very long trailing edge. Anal fin is actually positioned very interestingly, where it's pretty far ahead of the second dorsal fin. Overall body is clearly very elongated. So you can see how it can maybe get confused with, and this is a little one, but like you can kind of see how it can get confused with sharp-nosed sharks. I think proportionally the snout is probably shorter relative to classic sharp-nosed sharks. The eyes are actually relatively large on this species. And I kind of feel like the head is a bit there's quite a bit of space between like the head, jaw, gills, and pectoral fins. So it's kind of has a pretty long face. Let's take a look at the adult. Sorry, I just saw these comments. Let's see. New people. Come here. This is better than anything. Oh, thank you, guy. Oh, thank you, Minjus. I appreciate that. That's really cool. Thank you. Interesting. I wonder if this has something to do with it maybe having a different method of reproduction. I don't know. Like, it's a good question. This looks to be a larger individual. You can see black tips, and don't know how we got an error on that, but oh well. So this is a larger individual. You can see quite a bit stockier. That trailing edge is not as evident, but this also might be the angle of the photo. You have black tips on the pectoral fins and kind of like a black blotch on the lower caudal fin. The caudal fins it's a pretty nice angular shape. Like the lower caudal fin is actually pretty large, and like that's a pretty severe angle, almost a 90-degree angle, which is kind of cool to see. Other than that, I'm not sure diagnostic features, so let's kind of keep looking around at the different species profiles to see more of what we can learn about the hardnose shark. So here we go. This one is from California State University. California, really great place to study sharks. Like, actually, for Shark Week, just a random trivia thing. If you want to study sharks, California, Florida, Australia, those are probably the major places. But really anywhere in the United States is a solid place. But Florida in particular is like a shark research nexus, and California as well. There is the American Lazarin Society, which has, I think, 4 universities tied to it. Virginia Institute of Marine Science in Gloucester Point was one of them. Check who is... Actually, let's check this out now. American Lazarin Society. Here we go. This is a pretty old and well-respected body as far as shark science membership. I'm technically a member, but I don't really participate as much as I probably should. There is a officers committee. I thought there was a kind of a list of universities that were pretty important for the American Lazarin Societies. So let's see, or American Lazarin Society. That's kind of cool. Shark Attack File Committee. International Shark Attack File, owned by the Smithsonian Institution, is under the trusteeship and management of the American Lazarin Society. I know it comes out of the University of Florida. I'm pretty sure I've seen on this website. I'll only spend a couple seconds on this because, like, I'm pretty sure I saw like a list of shark schools on this website. So, membership, students. Leadership roles, what kind of events, annual meetings, conferences. Okay, yep. our story. Let's check one more time. Because I just remember that logo. I just remember... Okay, alright. Well, shark schools... sorry about that detour. Shark schools that I remember being very top-notch. The famous ones. You have Moat Marine Lab, Virginia Institute of Marine Science, Florida Atlantic University. I want to shout out to Coastal Carolina University because our dear friend Jess Myers had a really fantastic undergraduate experience, and they have a really cool shark research program. University of North Carolina Chapel Hill actually has a really solid shark survey, one of the oldest in the world, which is really cool. Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, they're just solid on anything marine science. Same with Scripps in California. I feel like I'm missing a couple, but off the top of my head, those are like some classic shark schools. So, but yeah, detours are fun. Thank you, Images. So, but Hardnose Shark. Back to the Hardnose Shark. Let's see. Let's see. Although hardnose sharks are common throughout their geographical distribution, little is known about them. This is a live-bearing, viviparous species that can have 1 to 2 pups per litter. Okay, that is actually very small. That is very, very small. 1 to 2 pups, that's like a sand tiger shark. And sand tigers are really, really... they're critically endangered. So, this is a smaller shark that perhaps grows more quickly. A 12-month gestation period, so that is a year-long period. So that's actually pretty good as far as sharks go, but the litter size is not as good. So, frequently caught off Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, and China, where the meat from Carcharhinus macloti is used for human consumption. However, a majority of the individual caught are males, indicating strong sexual segregation within populations. Interesting. Lives inshore, continental insular shelves of the Indo-West Pacific. Thought to feed on small fishes, cephalopods, and crustaceans, but diet is not well described. This is listed as near threatened, and we'll take a look at the IUCN Red List conservation status. The teeth are really cool. I think I had... We'll click back to this. I think I had a nice zoomed-in view on the teeth in one paper. Where is this? Okay. Is it not quite that jaw set? Species composition. James Skimming. That thing. Okay. I'll have to find it again. Because I did have a nice oh, there it is. Okay, there he is. Sorry about that. But look at those teeth. They're really quite extraordinary. Where you have they're really fascinating for like a Carcharhinus. There we go. This is a fossil this is Pungo River Formation from Aurora, North Carolina, but it is Carcharhinus macloti or Carcharhinus CF macloti, which means it's either the same species or very closely related to the modern species. The tooth morphology is pretty conserved. We have like the main crown right here, and then you have these little cusplets. So and these, or rather strong serrations. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to 5 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And very, very large. And it's kind of an unusual tooth type for, like this is something that's kind of like a tiger shark tooth. Like tiger sharks have very large serrations, kind of at their, like, kind of their root a little bit. Or not their root, but like their, kind of like their base has very large serrations. But for a Carcharhinus, it's kind of a strange and really, really beautiful looking tooth type. Pretty intense looking, actually. So, so I just wanted to kind of show that before we continue. Hardnose shark's teeth are small and narrow, with upper teeth showing strong cusplets with little to no serrations, and the bottom teeth smooth with no serrations. There are 29 to 31 front row teeth in the upper jaw and 26 to 27 front row teeth in the lower jaw. So this shark is kind of small but mighty as far as the upper tooth type. This jaw set, by the way, this looks like a completely different species, and they might just use this for a model, because that almost looks like either a great white or a oceanic white tip, just with those big triangular teeth. So I think that photo is a model. The right is the hardnose shark's teeth. The left is something else. Okay. All right. Kind of keep looking at some other items. Oh yeah, sexual segregation. Just saw your comment, Minges. So yeah, a lot of sharks do that. So the big one, the famous one that I hear of, and this is actually for both of us since we both are on the East Coast of the United States, are piked dogfish, or spiny dogfish. Same species. Spiny dogfish is like the American name. Piked dogfish is kind of like the formal global name in English. But that shark has really strongly sexually segregated schools. If I remember correctly, the female, like, large females are on the shelf, are on the shelf edge. Like, they stay on the edge of continental shelf. Immature sharks go inshore. Mixed male and female immature sharks move inshore on kind of like the actual shelf, like the continental shelf area, like the main, like close to like bays. Like immature males and females are together. Mature females are on the shelf edge, and mature males I think are deeper. I could have that mixed up, but there is strong segregation or sexual segregation in that species. A lot of sharks do that, and that's actually really important as far as their management goes, where you have to be mindful of certain areas where there's a higher concentration of males, females, really females that are able to give birth, like pregnant females. That's like probably the biggest conservation priority area, and it may not be the same space as like the males of the same species. So one thing that is really important for management is you can identify an area of like a lot of dogfish sharks and be like, okay, that's it, protect that area, we're done. And it's like, well, no, just make sure, like, are you getting both males and females, or at least pregnant females in that area, or are you just hitting one part of the population and completely missing another part? So it's really cool. It's a very interesting concept, and it is something that's very frequent in the shark world. Like sexually segregated schools is pretty common in a lot of different shark species. So it's pretty interesting, and it has a lot of conservation implications. So this is Atlas of Living Australia. So this is usually a really good website, actually. So we'll just kind of... Oh, here we go. This is the name. Here we go. Hardnose shark is a species of requiem shark in the family Carcharhinus, so named because of the heavily calcified cartilages in its snout. Interesting. Let's take a look at some of these photographs, even though they're a little bit lurid. Can we see any evidence of that, just externally? Heavily calcified cartilage. It's kind of hard to tell. Like, honestly, just kind of looking at this, I guess you could make an argument right here. It's hard to tell, like, visually where that calcification is happening. But if we have, like, maybe a kind of a skeleton, of the chondrocranium, we might be able to see that more clearly. Let's see. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, these are all photographs of hardnose sharks, so you can see kind of how common the species is. But no skeleton, no CT scan or anything. So. Yeah. Again, the eye really strikes me at just how large it is, and it's actually kind of cool to see how forward in the body it is. Like, the eye and the nostril is like well ahead of the mouth, and then there's like a huge area, kind of like behind the jaw where the gills are. So it's kind of it's a shark with kind of a strange face, and I don't mean that negatively. It's a very unique looking species. Just from the head alone, you can kind of tell it's a weird looking head. It's pretty big cheeks too. It's kind of fun. Okay, so apparently it gets its name from, and that's a really good English name, from, literally what it's named after. Like, it has heavily calcified cartilage, so it does have a hard nose. So, interesting. Let's see. It has two modestly sized dorsal fins, which have distinctly elongated rear tips. So the rear fin tips are actually something to help distinguish the species. That's cool. It inhabits warm, shallow waters close to shore. Common and gregarious hardnose shark is a predator of bony fishes, cephalopods, and crustaceans. Species like birth. Females have a biennial reproductive cycle and bear litter one or two more pups after a 12-month gestation period. So that means that's every 2 years, I'm imagining. So it means they have a year-long gestation period and then a year-long break. So that's actually really bad as far as shark reproduction goes. That's kind of par for the course for most shark species, where they reproduce really slowly. The hardnose shark is fished for meat throughout its range, and given its low reproductive rate, is listed as near threatened. The Latin name is named in honor of Heinrich Christian Maclot, who collected a type specimen from New Guinea. So, I think this is the original illustration of the hardnose shark. It's actually really beautiful because you can see that's actually an excellent work of art, because you can see like the distinct tooth type with the the cusplets, like the really big cusplets on the upper jaw. You can see the trailing free rear tips of the dorsal fin, so that's helpful for diagnosing the species or identifying the species. And then this specimen when this was drawn. So you could tell this is a preserved specimen because the snout is kind of like emaciated looking. So this is after preservation. So that's actually kind of like a fun piece of shark trivia, where if you see like old shark drawings and they look kind of shriveled or emaciated, that means like those are preserved specimens that the artist is trying to draw, and the artist is not kind of accounting for the shark looks a lot beefier in life. So, but oh yeah, mystery solved. Yeah, yep. So, which is cool. Love seeing the origins of names. So. Okay. Evolutionary relationship of the hardnose shark has not been fully resolved. Compagno tentatively grouped the hardnose shark with the Borneo shark, Carcharhinus borneensis, the white-cheeked shark, the Pondicherry shark, we just talked about that one, the creek whaler, small-tail shark, black spot shark, and spot-tail shark. Results from molecular phylogenetic analysis have been inconsistent, with some supporting parts of some supporting parts of the Compagno's hypothesis. We don't know exactly where they are, or where where the shark is as far as its evolutionary tree. Here's a nice modern illustration. Oh, I love that. You know, I in all these years, I never really realized this. See this right here? This is the nictitating membrane. So this is a feature unique to Carcharhiniforms, where it we've talked about it many times, but it's a flap that goes over the eyeball to protect the eye. In only Carcharhiniform sharks, that's the only order of sharks that has this. So bull sharks, tiger sharks, hammerheads, they're the only species, and cat sharks, these are the only groups of sharks that have this. And I never realized in all these years that they include it in scientific illustrations as part of like identification, as far as like, oh yeah, this is a shark with a nictitating membrane. We want to show you that it has one. Here we go. That's actually really cool. I never ever really thought about that before, but there's a lot of modern shark illustrations that have that membrane, and I didn't realize that that's actually really helpful as far as like diagnostically. That's really helpful. So it's really cool. You can tell this is a mature male because of the size of the claspers. So if it was an immature male, the claspers sometimes are like in line with the pelvic fin. They don't really extend past the pelvic fin, but these are large and full. So this is a mature male hardnose shark. Let's see other parts of the description. Unlike in other Carcharhinus species, this is the same thing. Its rostral cartilages are highly calcified, hence the name hardnose. The circular eyes are rather large and equipped with protective nictitating membranes. There's a narrow lobe of skin on the interior rim of each nostril. Okay. These are pretty detailed notes. I won't read all of them. I just want to see if there's anything that jumps out. Both dorsal fins have very long, free rear tips, and there's a subtle midline ridge between them. The caudal fin has a well-developed lower lobe and a longer upper lobe with ventral notch near the tip. Okay. Shallow inshore waters, maximum depth is 170 meters. Okay, tagging data show this shark tends not to make long distance movements, with 30% of recaught individuals having moved less than 50 kilometers from their initial tagging location. The longest known distance traveled by individuals is 711 kilometers, 442 miles. It's actually kind of cool that for Carcharhinus, which tends to be like more of a migratory group, it's kind of cool to see that like these guys are a little bit more local. It's pretty interesting. The hardnose sharks forms large groups. Oh, this is cool. Often associated with spot-tail sharks and Australian blacktip sharks. Males and females generally roam separately from each other. Bony fish form the main part of the shark's diet, with cephalopods or crustaceans making up the remainder. Interesting. So I love seeing that, like, I feel like many shark species are quite solitary, so it's kind of fun to see interspecies schools, like the idea of like this shark rolls with the spot-tail shark and the Australian blacktip. It's really, really cool to see that. Human interactions. Harmless to humans, the hardnose shark is caught with gill nets and line gear by artisanal and commercial fisheries across much of its range. Okay. In Australia, it seems to be least concerned regionally, but near threatened globally. So. Oh, cool. Yeah. I love that comment, Minjas. Now I'm going to be looking out for that every time I see a shark drawing. Very cool. So, I think we'll go over just the hardnose shark's conservation, and then we'll go into more contest rules, and then I think we'll dive into some shark science in general. So the hardnose shark is near threatened. Let's see what the assessment is. You know what's kind of fun also? I'm really glad that we're doing these streams. We started in 2023, and it's 2024 now. A lot of the modern IUCN Red List assessments are 2019 to 2021. So we're right. It's like IUCN Red List did a couple big rounds of assessments for sharks. So the last one I think was like 2012. So it's kind of cool to like have these streams up now and to do this second major round together. because this will one day kind of be outdated. I guess it'll be outdated, and hopefully for the better as far as like maybe sharks improving in their conservation status. But it's kind of cool like to have a snapshot in time. So let's see. It is demersal, so Hardnose Shark is kind of likes to stick near the bottom on continental and insular shelves at depths of 0 to 200 meters. So it's swimming in a water column, but it likes to kind of be closer to the seabed. Species is caught as bycatch in industrial and small-scale fisheries by multiple fishing gears, including trawl, gillnet, and line. Is retained for its meat and to a lesser extent for its fins. The population is suspected to be declining across most of its range. It is subject to historic and ongoing intense fishing pressure across its spatial and depth range, except for within Australia, where it is fished sustainably, and there's no... it's the same thing. It's so cool. Like, Australia, this shark is fished sustainably, and there's low to moderate managed fishing pressure. Again, this is like the 5th shark species we've reviewed where they're doing better in Australia. Like, Australia's doing something right as far as sharks go, which is really cool to see that. The species is still common in parts of its Arabian Seas and Southeast Asia region, but has also declined as now uncommon in other parts of those regions. Decline in other shark species and demersal fisheries resources across more than half of the Hardnose Shark's range are also reported. It is suspected the Hardnose Shark has undergone a population reduction of 20-29% over the past 3 generation lengths. So that's actually, as far as sharks go, that is not a bad number. It's sad to say that, but that's a really, like, we've been seeing sharks undergoing 80 to 90% declines. So with such a moderate decline, it's assessed as near threatened. So it's currently okay. So this little guy is doing okay so far. It's doing least concern in Australia. It's doing really well in Australia, but other parts of its range not as well. So, but overall, it's not as bad as other shark species. So, man. All right. Just gonna take a sip of water, catch up on some comments. Let me put some fossils up on the screen. Not bad, but not the best. Yes. So, oh, great question, Minjas. Are we due for a new round soon? So that's a excellent question. I don't think so, but I think it's roughly, based on how this went, I think it's roughly every 10 years. So that would be, I guess, 2030-ish time frame, like maybe 2029, 2030, 2031 will be the new assessments, which will be kind of wild to read because I think some of the angel sharks are not going to be in a good spot. I don't know about hammerheads because I feel like hammerheads have gotten a lot of attention. But then again, I don't really know, because hammerheads are cosmopolitan species, I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know like how they'll fare in the new assessments. I don't know, because I feel like a lot of sharks that were vulnerable, they were vulnerable in 2012 and they got kicked to endangered. So the big ones that have changed in my lifetime have been the sand tiger shark. It used to be a vulnerable species. It's now critically endangered. The sandbar shark used to be vulnerable. It's now endangered. Bull sharks used to be near threatened. They're now vulnerable. I think whale sharks used to be vulnerable. They're now endangered. The hammerheads, like the great hammerhead and the scalloped hammerhead, those used to be endangered. I think they're now critically endangered. Basket shark used to be vulnerable. It's now endangered. Like, a lot of species degraded. The only ones that like improved were the sand devil, which was data deficient, and then it went back to, we found out that it's actually kind of doing okay, so it's actually least concern. It's a kind of angel shark that based on the fact that it's kind of across the United States, and there really isn't intentional fishing pressure for it. It's actually one of the best angel sharks in the. It's one of the best faring angel sharks in the world. So, so yeah, there was a lot of shark species. Oceanic white-tip shark. That was like a vulnerable species that also became critically endangered. So, in the span of a decade, those assessments were updated, and a lot of sharks had a huge drop. I would predict for next year, or not next year, the next decade, that the ones that have already dropped are probably going to remain for the most part. I believe there were some shark populations that were slowly showing signs of recovery. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the basking shark might be one of those species. There's a couple sharks that are classified as vulnerable or endangered out of an abundance of caution. Where it's like they're kind of on the fence, and depending on how things go, they could be tipped back into a positive spot. So I think for the next round, we'll probably have a lot more vulnerable sharks drop to like endangered status. I think for the ones that are currently endangered or critically endangered, I think they'll probably just stay there. Maybe we'll have a few improvements, hopefully. There hasn't really been... We haven't had any major news on shark extinction. Really, the only species are the ones that we've reviewed, like the Pondicherry shark and the lost shark. Like, those are the two that IUCN Red List may be able to call it as extinct at that point, but I think there's a lot of... You need like a lot of evidence in order to make that case and conclude it. So, sorry, this is a little bit of a ramble, but so the assessments from like early 2010s to the 2020s were really devastating drop. I think from the 2020s to the 2030s, I don't think they're going to be as shocking. I think it's probably going to be either more status quo or some other species like dropping slightly, but like it's not going to be as bad as it was from the 10s to the 20s. So, but anyway, that's kind of my guess. On a happier note, I think we should revisit the shark contest. So since it is, I said I would touch base on it 9:30. It's 9:42. So we'll take a look. Once I get my YouTube loaded, oh my gosh. But also, I think I made a note of this last year, and I'm sorry, I'm probably like really crushing the bandwidth. This is really terrible. I think I made a note of this last year, and in case I didn't, just want to make a note of this year. Thank you guys so much for watching as far as just this channel, and we're at stream number 78, so it's been a lot of fun and a lot of like... I can't even say work, because it's just a lot of fun being with you guys and talking about sharks. And 78 streams in, we've seen like some really cool growth as far as, I mean, our channel, our community is still very small, but if you compare this episode to the last episode of Shark Week, we have quite a few more subscribers, which is a lot of fun to see. We have a new country, Indonesia, which is a lot of fun to see. And we have... Man, I think we ended the year at, if I started, because I like 2023, I mean, I guess we did like 52 episodes in 2023. We did a few in 2022. When did I start this, actually? I thought I started this like some random Christmas. I think I did start this in 2022. I did start this in 2022. So we actually started a couple episodes in 2022, and then had a whole year, so 52 episodes in 52 weeks in a year, right? 2023. Now we're halfway through 2024, so 78 episodes later. It's been a really awesome journey, and it's like no signs of stopping, because it's like we've talked about 78 sharks, and it's always fun, and it's always like a new species. So you guys have been awesome. I really love our community, and like honestly, pretty much like the entirety of this year and most of last year, everybody's been awesome, very chill. We've only had like one or two weirdos who we immediately kicked out because like it was just like conspiracy theory nonsense. So but for the most part, this has been a really supportive, like fun community. So just happy Shark Week, guys. I'm really glad that we are able to do this again for another year. That's a big accomplishment, and I'm really excited about that. So, but this year it's the 2024 Shark Week banner contest. So the assignment is to create a banner by July 21st. So you can draw anything that you want as long as it's shark related. Last year the theme was biodiversity. And Howard Kerr, last year's winner, did an amazing job. It's actually kind of cool seeing these different species. We've got a whale shark, a salmon shark, a snaggletooth shark, a prehistoric, I think that's Cladosolaki in the background, a Japanese saw shark, a cookie cutter shark, a frilled shark, an angel shark, and a zebra bullhead shark. So he did an amazing job last year covering shark biodiversity. This year, I don't really have a distinct theme in mind. If anything, maybe bonus points for conservation, anything that's like kind of conservation related, because I feel like we've leaned a little bit more into conservation this year. But really, anything shark related goes. Please submit your... Oh, awesome! Thank you, Minjus. This is so cool. Just like a comment, been working on your submission. Please send them to drjawssharks@gmail.com. There we go. So please send your submissions before July 21st. Before July 21st. Actually, let me make sure that's a Sunday, I think. Right? Let's say by July 21st, because it's a Sunday. So by July 21st. Send your submissions by July 21st to drjawssharks@gmail.com. I'll review them, and then the following Monday, July 22nd, we'll reveal the winner. First prize is going to be your banner will be featured on the channel for the entirety of the year between Shark Week this year and Shark Week next year. So your banner will be on the channel for the whole year with your name credited on it, of course. So that will be that. And then on top of that, you will receive a new copy of Sharks of the World, Pocket Guide to Sharks of the World. So this is a really cool pocket reference of like most of the shark species in the world. This is actually an excellent like handheld edition of one of the best shark books in the world. You also receive a signed copy of one of my books, and then finally you will receive a fossil, a Carcharhinus anguistidens. So it's a cousin of the megalodon, but it's a complete fossil collected from Cooper River, South Carolina. These are beautiful fossils, pretty beefy size too. So that is the prize package for this year. So good luck. I'm so excited that you're doing this, Minjus. I'm so excited to see what you have for your banner. I think YouTube has like standard, I think there's like a standard banner size, but I'll always be able to edit it as far as, if possible, try to make it a little bit elongate, but if that's not possible, totally okay. I'll be able to edit it, and it will be on the channel no matter what. So thank you. So excited to see everybody's submissions. Yeah, and I will put a post on the community page as far as just the rules. I'll have them for Shark Week so that they're always there if anybody needs to reference anything like the email address or anything like that. So, but yeah, with that, we'll continue on with the stream. I think we'll hop over to some actual science. So, starting with this one, this is an older paper, but there's something in here that I think is the coolest thing ever. This is, I guess I should probably read the title of this first. A global pattern of phylogenetic species composition of shark and its conservation priority by Hongyang Chen and Hirohisa Kishino. So Chen and Kishino made this really incredible phylogenetic tree. Not of every shark species, but of most shark species. So I think it's good to take a peek at this. I love looking at this. So you can see kind of on a... Let me make sure I got this right. It's DNA, so DNA sequences. So this was calculated it's a Bayesian phylogenetic tree estimated from mitochondrial DNA COI sequences. So this is like a genetic estimate of how all the sharks, or most of the sharks in the world, relate to each other which ones are more closely related, which ones are more distantly related. So this tree is like super cool to kind of break down. So you have these two major branches on the left and right. So on the right we have the Hexanchiforms. So you've got Hexanchus griseus, the six-gill shark, blunt-nosed six-gill shark. You've got the Echinorhiniforms, the bramble sharks, so Echinorhinus brucus and cookie eye, they're over here. You've got the saw sharks, Pristiophorus serratus. The angel sharks, all the squatinas, all the pancakes, the flat ones are here. And then this huge chunk, the squaliforms, so these are all the dogfish sharks. Now I believe this branch is the squalomorphs. Let me make sure I got that right. I would be eviscerated if I got that wrong, because I forget how extensive that is, squalomorphs. Like, I never really grew up with squalomorphs and galeomorphs, but that's like a big way to break sharks up into two major camps. Galeomorphy, okay. Okay, so I think that is correct. Make sure I got that right. That is correct. Okay, awesome. Awesome. So this tree is actually a really good visual about that. Okay, so the squalomorphs are on the right side of the tree, the galeomorphs on the left side of the tree. The difference between them, it's something to do with their jaw structure. The kind of quick and dirty way I like to think about it is the squalomorphs are like the older sharks, like the ancient sharks, and the galeomorphs are more like the modern sharks. That is not the best way to describe it, and I think some scientists will roll their eyes at me describing it like that, but that's kind of like my catch all. Like, a lot of the more modern derived sharks, like the hammerheads, are galeomorphs, and then a lot of like the classically ancient sharks, like some of the dogfish or like the the frilled shark, are squalomorphs. So squalomorphs are on the right side of this tree, the galeomorphs on the left side. So as a recap, squalomorphs are Hexanchiforms, Echinorhiniforms, Squatiniforms, Pristiophoriforms, and Squaliforms. So those are the cow sharks and frilled sharks, bramble sharks, saw sharks, angel sharks, and dogfish. Those are all the squalomorphs, like the ancient, the older, the basal sharks. Again, not the best term to use, but it's kind of like you could split sharks in half between squalomorphs and galeomorphs. The galeomorphs are, you've got heterodontiforms, so Heterodontus galeatus. I'm actually not sure which one that is. It's a kind of bullhead shark, but I don't know what kind it is. But the bullhead sharks, also known as the horn sharks. The carpet sharks, so Rigodontypus is the whale shark. The wobegons are carpet sharks, the bamboo sharks. You've got the lamniforms, so the great white, the salmon shark, basking shark, and then finally the Carcharhinus, which is a huge part of this tree. You can see how just giant this order is. So these are all like the cat sharks, the bull shark, the lemon shark, leopard shark. So these are all galeomorphs. So galeomorphs are heterodontiforms, or like lobiforms, lamniforms, and Carcharhiniforms. The bullhead sharks, carpet sharks, mackerel sharks, and ground sharks. So it's really cool to see that split up. And like I really love this breakdown of like shark classification. So I'll take a look at lamniforms really quick because I think it's really interesting to see. So you've got, actually, yeah, let's take a look at that for fun. And it's actually extremely cool to see. Look at this little pocket of the tree. This is like the lamniform section. This is like a really small section, and it kind of shows you that, like, compared to a lot of shark orders, like lamniforms is very narrow in its biodiversity, and it's cool to see that because back in the day, as in, like, I think it's the Miocene. No, it's what's before the Miocene. Is that the Pliocene? The Oligocene. I always get that confused. Back in the Oligocene, lamniforms like really ruled the ocean, and then I think around the Miocene there was like a radiation event of Carcharhiniforms, and they really kind of took over a lot of the lamniform spots. So Carcharhiniforms is just huge. There's just so many of them right now. But lamniforms is a very narrow order of some of the most famous sharks in the world. But like there's not a lot of them. So it's kind of cool to see this split. We've got the sand tiger and the thresher sharks, and the megamouth and the basking shark, and they're split off from the lamnids. So you've got like the porbeagle, the salmon shark, the white shark, and the shortfin mako. What's really fun about this is I love seeing that the white shark is nested within Isurus. So like, because that was part of the evolutionary history of white sharks. Like, mako sharks are Isurus, and these were like big, like back in the day, there were big sharks that hunted a wide variety of prey. And there was a weird branch of mako sharks that got bigger and bigger and bigger and were hunting bigger and bigger prey, and they became Carcharodon, the white sharks. And it's really cool to see that, because it's kind of a common misconception that the white shark is a cousin of Megalodon. And like it technically is, but it's actually more closely related to mako sharks than it is to Megalodon. Megalodon like broke off a very long time ago. And like mako sharks and megalodons, like the mako sharks and megatooth sharks, they were in different groups, and the white shark evolved with the mako shark group. It was not a megatooth shark. So it's really cool to see that breakdown, and it's a common misconception, because like people, I think a lot of modern media says that the white shark is the closest living relative to the megalodon, and it really kind of you can make sure, but like you can make the same argument for the mako shark, or like you can make the exact same argument for the mako shark, honestly. So it's kind of cool to see that. So I think we'll move on to a different study, but good question. Why must all the post-dinosaur named eras end with scene? So yeah, what's kind of fun is I cheated a little bit in making this little chart, and for good reason. So because the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous are periods, and then the Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, and onward are epochs, I think, and epochs are smaller than periods. If I just did a bar of periods, you would have the Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, and then Quaternary. It's like the whole period after the Cretaceous period up to now. And it's kind of like, it's too broad. It's hard to kind of like point out a lot of like the really cool fossil shark evolution stuff if you just did like the Quaternary period. So I kind of cheated and broke the Quaternary up into the epochs, and a lot of shark fossils are defined by their epochs. So when I collect teeth in Virginia, like fossil hunters say like, oh, those are Miocene teeth, or those are like Oligocene teeth. They go by the epoch. Just as like kind of like it's a handier, it's a more useful unit of time. As far as like trying to get a catch-all for just like shark evolution, it's more useful. When you get older and older, like Cretaceous, Jurassic, Triassic, like you have the opposite problem where there's a lot of epochs inside the Cretaceous, Jurassic, and Triassic, so it's like that would be just like impossible to keep track of. So my little shark bar or my little shark time bar at the top of the display is like, it's kind of like it's a little bit of a cheat, but it's an intentional cheat. It's very useful for kind of trying to figure out where in history, or where in evolutionary history or geologic history, certain shark teeth came from. So, but it's a good question because they all end in scene, and I think that's intentional as far as because like classification ends in things like orders in animals, they always end in forms. So like ragiforms are like rays. I'm trying to remember some other ones. Actually no. Do I have this right? Fish always end in forms. I just realized primates is not forms. There's not primate forms. Like, so... Okay, so fish always end in forms. Let me... You know, do I have that right? Hold on. Oh, now I'm getting confused. Min just, it makes it so hard to memorize. I agree. I'm actually... Let me look up primates really quick. Because I think primates is literally just called primates. Yeah, it's literally just called primates. So... That's an order of animals, and it's just called primates. Okay. And then carnivores, or carnivora, that's an order of animals. Okay, so, alright, I got that wrong. So, and that's just biology in general. There's, like, rules and exceptions all the time. So, like, oh man, I'm trying to remember this. Word endings. Order, forms... Family is a day. Genus is... Actually, genus can be anything. Okay, yeah, I'll stop there. So, like, in classic animal classification, at the order level... you call it forms. Like, it always ends in forms. Like, that's why they're all so similar. Oh, there we go. Yeah. I've heard it used with Australopithecines. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's identifying the order level. That's why all the sharks end in forms, like Carcharhinus, Landoforms. Those are all the orders. And then day is like the family level. So like, Squalidae, Triachidae, Heterodontidae. And I think that's universal. Hominidae. There we go. Hominidae is the family for humans. That is one of them. Felidae, family for cats. I'm trying to think of some... Oh, okay, so mammals come back into the norm as far as like how you name things. Now I think about it. I'm trying to think of some other families. Phoecidae is seals, I think. It's pretty fun to think about. Crocodilidae is crocodiles. I might be making that one up actually, but anyway. Yeah, is that? Yeah, I forget. So, but anyway, yeah, just random biology tangent. But it's always funny. Like I think it's like a classic like adage or adage like adage that. There's rules in biology, and there's always exceptions to those rules. So, we're gonna hop around because I had a really cool paper I wanted to take a look at. That is kind of more about the world, because I like how it broke it down. Because they had like all these like really cool like habitat figures, and I wanted to figure out what that was all about. So, I'm just gonna take a look at that. But if anyone has any general shark questions, please let me know in the chat. Be happy to help answer some. Where is this? They had a really cool guide. This might be it. I think this actually is it. Nope, not that one. Morphology. Oh, that was... Okay, this is not it, but this is what I wanted to show. Beautiful fossil related to the Hardnose shark. This is a different species. This is Carcharhinus dysomai. Dysomai. But look at the coloration on that. Gorgeous, gorgeous fossil. Similar morphology too, with like the cusplets. So like the really, really large cusplets. And like I mean, I love shark teeth. Like shark teeth are, I mean, by far my favorite fossil. Not just because I love sharks, but because like they're hard to like. I mean, they're depending on where you are, they are they can be like abundant enough to find, but they're also like hard to find, and they're always like a thrill to find. They're kind of like sea glass in that way, where it's just like it's always exciting to like find one on the beach, and just like it is a clue to like an animal that lived in the past. Like as far as like it could be so many different kinds of species. Like it's my favorite hobby, especially in the winter. Like I love, it's one of my favorite hobbies, but in the winter it's like my favorite hobby. Because the water's too cold to swim in. But it's a lot of fun to do, and the colorations can be just beautiful. I care more about the species, as far as looking for shark's teeth, but some people really, really get a thrill out of the different colors. And this specimen from Peru, just gorgeous coloration on that. So really, really nice. I think the prettiest tooth I have is has kind of like a slightly blue shade that I got from the York River. It's a Carcharhinus also, but it's more like a kind of like a mid-bodied shark, like a bull shark kind of tooth. So I don't think I was able to get it down to species level, but biggest tooth I have is Carcharhinus plicatilis, which is an ancient white shark. So it's also known as the giant white. It's not that. Where is this thing? Oh, that one's really cool. We'll take a look at that one in a second. A lot of cool global studies. Oh, this one was cool. We've seen it before. Skimming. Okay, you know what? I guess we'll just work backwards because I thought it was one of the modern ones and it was the coolest thing ever. So let's see. All right, so we'll kind of like take just like a deep dive into science. So. Here we go. Linking extinction risks to the economic and nutritional value of sharks in small-scale fisheries. So here we go. So this one is from 2023. So this is very, very recent. This is Andrew J. Temple, Per Berggren, Nariman Jadawi, Nina Wambiji, Chris N.S. Punian, Yusuf N. Salman, Michael L. Berrumen, and Selena M. Steed. So, to achieve sustainable shark fisheries, it is key to understand not only the biological drivers and environmental consequences of overfishing, but also the social and economic drivers of fisher behavior. The extinction risk of sharks is highest in coastal tropical waters, where small-scale fisheries are most prevalent. Small-scale fisheries provide a critical source of economic and nutritional security to coastal communities, and these fisheries are among the most vulnerable social and economic groups. So this is a really good paper topic as far as like this is the heart of a lot of fisheries issues, where I think sometimes I hate using the term developed nations. I really hate that term, but like I think sometimes countries referred to as developed countries lose sight of the fact that fishing is the primary source of protein for certain places, and it's not like a lifestyle choice or an option, between like can you choose to eat like something else other than seafood, or choose to be a vegetarian. It's like for some communities, it is the primary protein choice. So, and also disclaimer, I personally, I have said many times on my channel, and just in some of the stuff that I do as far as like lectures and things, is that I have taken the stance of, I try to avoid seafood. If I'm a guest somewhere, I'll have it, but if there's an option, I try to avoid it. I recommend people consider avoiding seafood, if they have that option. If they care about sharks and they want to kind of have an impact, shark bycatch is one of the biggest things that's hurting them, and a very direct impact is like maybe reducing or eliminating your seafood consumption in order to help them, or kind of like help decrease the market for seafood and help decrease the impact of fisheries, in order to like like fisheries that are collecting seafood, fisheries that are indirectly creating bycatch for sharks. So just full disclaimer, I have had that position before. I still have that position, but I want to acknowledge that while also simultaneously acknowledging that there are some communities that do rely on seafood as their primary source of protein. And, the same rules don't apply as far as those communities. So I just want to acknowledge that disclaimer as far as like, I'm not insensitive to that at all. It's a very valid concern. So I just wanted to say that. Didn't want to sound like a hypocrite. Cause that it's important to weigh in. So we use Kenya and Zanzibar's small-scale shark fisheries, which are illustrative of many data-poor small-scale shark fisheries worldwide, as case studies to explore the relationship between extinction risk and the economic and nutritional value of sharks. To achieve this, we combined existing data on shark landings, extinction risk, and nutritional value with sales data at 16 key landing sites and information from interviews with 476 shark fishers. Shark fisheries were an important source of economic and nutritional security, valued at greater than $4 million annually, and providing enough nutrition for tens of thousands of people. Economically and nutritionally, catches were dominated by threatened species, while 73% and 65 to 90% respectively. The most economically valuable species were large and slow to reproduce, mobulid rays, wedgefish, and the bull, silky, and mako sharks. This is really bad for mako sharks. Like the bull, I forget where silky sharks are conservation-wise, but bull sharks are vulnerable. They're tough species. They're really, really resilient to a lot of human impact. Mako sharks are endangered. Like mako sharks are really, really, really susceptible. Therefore more likely to be threatened with extinction. Given the financial incentive and intensive fishing pressure, small-scale fisheries are undoubtedly major contributors to the decline of threatened coastal shark species. In the absence of effective fisheries management and enforcement, we argue that within small-scale fisheries, the conditions exist for an economically incentivized feedback loop in which vulnerable fishers are driven to persistently overfish vulnerable and declining shark species. To protect these species from extinction, this feedback loop must be broken. Wow. So this is probably the starkest example of that tension between the economic forces, and needs of humans as far as fishing for anything, including sharks, and also the conservation concern of those sharks as far as like, this is the tension. This is the tension that's applied to a lot of species, or actually maybe every species of animal, where it's like you have human economic need, and in some cases it's very, very valid as far as like, we were talking about like unstable food communities, communities that like, this is their source of food, like this is their source of like living and sustainability, and it's in direct conflict with, but you're also like you're also fishing like for sharks and other animals, like you're fishing in such a way that you're not going to be able to replenish them, and it's just like there's a direct threat to their extinction. What's interesting is like, it's a compromise, but like kind of like the best harmony is being permitted to fish, but fish in a way that is sustainable to allow stocks to reproduce themselves. It's kind of the most utilitarian answer as far as like, and I think that's really the philosophy behind most fisheries management or most good fisheries management is that, okay, you have to have food, you want this resource, you have a right to this resource, like we don't want to take that from you, but we can't let you completely drive it out of existence, because even just from a utilitarian resource perspective, it's gonna be gone. Like you are going to shoot yourself in the foot if you were just left to do whatever you want, because everybody will drive it into the ground and there will be no food left. A great example is in the Chesapeake Bay with oysters, where oysters were everywhere in the bay in like the early 1900s. They were actually like, seafaring hazards because they would there's all these oyster reefs that would crash ships. They made the water clear because they were really good at filtering. Like oysters are excellent natural filters, filter feeders. So they actually would make the Chesapeake Bay look like a nice, clear, almost reminiscent of it probably wouldn't be Florida clear, but it would still be clear enough to snorkel, have a really great time snorkeling. You can see the bottom, you can see what you're catching. And in the early 1900s, I mean, just older watermen or commercial fishers, there was no regulation, there was no stopping what they could do, and they almost drove oysters into extinction. Now today we have them, but nowhere near the numbers. It's about 10% of the original population, and you could see that effect in the bay. The bay is pretty murky almost everywhere. Even in the lower part of the bay where I go snorkeling, I have variable visibility, and that's not what it was historically. So this paper is a really good intersect of the real forces of conservation, as far as you have human interest and human need, which is valid. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just maybe self-interest run amok. But sometimes it's genuinely valid, as far as especially when you're talking about starvation and food security. That's a valid human need coming into conflict with the effect of that need is also driving some species to extinction. So that's the tension. That is the real tension of conservation in general. And I really love the moments when we do have solutions, and the moments where we do have success stories. Some success stories, if I'm talking about the Chesapeake Bay, striped bass, that was also known as rockfish. That was a species that we brought back through effective fisheries management. People can fish for rockfish today because we caught that species in time, as far as we caught wind of that species declining right at the right moment. Bald eagles were threatened with DDT, and that was an endangered species. And because we were mindful of that and changed our ways, as far as in the United States, what chemicals you can use, and we did not use DDT for certain things, bald eagles are back. They're now actually very common in Virginia, especially, which is really fun. I love seeing them. So there are success stories, there are wins. There's a lot of compromises that have to happen. I think, kind of a small soapbox, I do think I think any aspiring conservationist just needs to be mindful of there are real jobs and real families who need those resources and food, and that's valid, and you shouldn't diminish that. And then on the flip side, for fishermen or harvesters, there's a huge picture and a huge concern and a valid concern for just over harvesting those resources, driving those animals to extinction, which ruins not just your immediate future, but also your children's future, the next generation's future, in terms of how are they going to sustain themselves. And on top of that, there is an ethical concern of these animals have been here for millions and millions of years, and they have a right to be in their ecosystem and to exist. And I think that part is important. I think it's important to acknowledge that part. It's not just the utilitarian part. It's also just I think there's an interesting ethics there and an interesting morality there, in terms of that particular individual species is just as much a part of the earth as we are, and it doesn't have a voice like we do, and it deserves that right to live. So sorry, kind of got real for a second, but oh my gosh, yeah. Let's keep going for this. I want to see, I think there was a graph about which species were more at risk. This was okay, relationship between selected variables and mean price at first log scale for sharks landed across Kenya and Zanzibar. Okay, and we got the IUCN status. The circles are coastal, the triangles are oceanic. The dark red is critically endangered. On the the bottom right, we've got $100 US. Bottom left is $1. So here we go. Carcharhinus. This really sucks. This is the short-fin mako, endangered species, oceanic, most valuable. But wow, that is not in a good spot. That's really, it's the most valuable species, but oh, it's an endangered oceanic species. That's not good. Mobula is a kind of ray. I'm not sure who that is. Bathiotia is also a ray. Not sure what that is. Carcharhinus lucas, the bull shark. This is a vulnerable species, but that actually fetches a high price. That's not good. Tiger shark, near threatened. Galeosteota cuvier. Another ray. Silky shark, Carcharhinus falciformis, is vulnerable. Like, this is so interesting. That's an oceanic species. Bull shark is a coastal species. Rays. Black tip shark, Carcharhinus lombatus. It's a vulnerable species. Classified as oceanic, kind of high price. Carcharhinus amblyrhynchos, the gray reef shark, I think. Endangered species. Let me make sure I got that right. Oh, thank you, Minjas. I appreciate that. Really, I'm gonna star that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard stuff to weigh. I remember, like, I would kind of talk to, like, younger students, and I noticed a lot of negativity, like a lot of negative thinking as far as conservation goes. And I think, like, at face value, conservation is a depressing subject at first, but you know, I think it's helpful to look at all angles and, you know, to kind of, like, celebrate those wins when they happen, and they do happen. And again, shout out to Australia. Like, it's so cool to see, like, Australia is a great example of, like, effective fisheries management for sharks, because there's so many species that, like, it's just evident in terms of it's a species that is Indo-Pacific, and in other parts of its range it's not doing well, but because Australia does what it does an effective fisheries program, like, because it has those things in place, like, that shark is actually doing better in Australian waters than it is in other waters. It, to the point where Australia, like, the Hardnose shark is a great example where, like, you know, in Australia it's least concerned, it's doing okay. In other parts of its range it's near threatened, but in Australia it's doing well. So it's like there are success stories, there are wins in that. United States is similar as far as, like, you know, we do have the success stories like the striped bass or you know, like the bald eagle. As far as sharks go, I think the closest equivalent I could think of is, and it's not really a conservation story, it's kind of more like a you're in protected water story, is the sand devil, where angel sharks in other parts of the world are doing really, really badly. Like, angel sharks in the Mediterranean are critically endangered species. The one angel shark that we have in the United States, it's just not targeted. It's not really something we want. It's actually prohibited. You know, it's not a species that you can fish for, and it sometimes gets caught in trawls, but other than that, it really doesn't run into humans that much. And so, kind of by virtue of being in American waters, you know, where there's not really the kind of intensive bottom trawling fishing or, like, targeted fishing as there is in Mediterranean waters, like, the sand devil's least concern. Like, that angel shark is actually doing okay. It's also known as the Atlantic angel shark, same species, Squatio demeral, but and that's a win. I mean, that's a win that we have a shark species that is least concerned in our waters. You know, Atlantic Hardnose shark is also least concerned as well. But anyway. Oh, sorry, I was looking up Carcharhinus amblyrhynchos. I just want to make sure that was gray reef shark. Yep, gray reef shark. Okay, got it. Haha. Carcharhinus sora is a small tail shark. Hemipristis elongata is... oh my gosh, I really should know this. I'm having Monday brain. What is that one? How do I not know this one? Isn't it a soul shark? Oh no, 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 no. Oh my gosh. It's a snaggletooth shark. Oh my gosh, I hope Howard is not watching. I'm so sorry, Howard. It's Monday Brain. It is Monday Brain. It is Monday Brain. I'm so sorry. That is one of the key cornerstone sharks of this stream. I'm so sorry. Hammerpristis elongata. It's nice to see that, like, so this is a vulnerable species. It is nice to see that price at first sale, it's around the $10 range. That is 1/10 of the mako shark. So it's not great. It's proportionally faring better than the mako shark, but still, it's quite concerning. So Carcharhinus albimongenardis, that's the silver tip shark. Musculus, which are smooth hounds. Rhizoprodon acutus is the milk shark. Loxodon is a small carcharhiniform. The least valuable shark is Carcharhinus macloti. There we go. It's a hardnose shark. So our tonight's shark is actually the least valuable. And look at this. Sphaerna lewini, the scaled hammerhead. I'm really happy to see this. Sphaerna lewini is the least valuable shark. It's also critically endangered, but it's amazing to see that on this chart, it only fetches a fraction of what the mako shark does. So at least that is doing better, but still, that's just like not good. Weight standardized price at first sale. So again, mako shark is a heavy hitter. The gray reef shark, which is kind of interesting to see that. The ones that don't bring in a lot are the milk shark, which makes sense. That's a small sharp-nosed shark. Black tip shark, it's a little bit of a change. Carcharhinus macloti, where did you go? He $20 at first sale, so not as bad, but not really as good though. So, oh, this is interesting. What is this? Fishery value. Okay. Oh, this is ranking everything by fishery value, so here we go. Oh, this is not good. So, Sphaerna lewini, which I was very happy, the scalped hammerhead, I was very happy that it didn't really fetch that much. Total fishery value is actually the highest of the sharks named. It's really scary. The first three ones, Hematura maculabatus mobula, these are rays, and it's kind of interesting to see that the rays are doing much worse than the sharks, but still the scalped hammerhead is doing really badly. Carcharhinus sora, this is a small tail shark. That's the, which one is that? Carcharhinus sora. Spot tail shark. Sorry, I got that mixed up. Carcharhinus sora is a spot tail shark. That is doing not well at all. The musculus, pretty high in value. Mako shark again, Isurus oxyrhynchus, pretty high in value. Tiger shark, pretty high. Bull shark, pretty high. When you go all the way down, where is Carcharhinus macloti? There he is. Carcharhinus macloti, is not fetching as much as the other shark species, but still, it's there. So, man, we'll move on since it's already 10:30. But still, I mean, this is a pretty great. I really like this article, this paper. Linking extinction risk to the economic and nutritional value of sharks in small-scale fisheries. This is a really great paper, and I'm really glad that we clicked on it. It's sobering, but it's a really good. It's right on the node of that conservation tension. So very, very good paper for that. Since it is 10:30, I love that. If Howard isn't here, then he definitely felt a disturbance in the force. So. Oh my gosh. That reminds me, we've been watching Acolyte lately. That's been an interesting show. My quick review is, it started out meh, kind of got better, it's kind of getting meh again, so I'm curious to see how it ends. I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan, but Star Wars is so much fun to like meme about and like kind of quote and talk about. Like I'm like a casual. I enjoy it to an extent. So Acolyte is like a it's fine. It's a soft recommendation. You know, it's there. So it's not bad. I don't think it's particularly great, but you know, it's there. So yeah. Minges, even if the wins may seem few and far between, there are wins nonetheless. Yes, I'm going to star that comment as well. Absolutely. So. Oh my gosh. Okay, so. Oh wow. So for the Star Wars movies, I recommend. Okay, sorry. They're worth watching. I would recommend doing it in this order. So, where's episode 4, A New Hope. So, Star Wars, it's very confusing how it all... I won't go into the whole thing, but, Empire Strikes Back, 1980, and then finally... Okay. So I would recommend doing... So Star Wars is really weird because in our timeline, in human history, the first movie was in 1977. It was just called Star Wars, but they renamed it A New Hope. And then the second one is Empire Strikes Back. The third one is Return of the Jedi. Those are the best movies. Yeah, yeah, I definitely recommend doing it this way. Those are the best movies. They can be just watched by themselves. It's the original trilogy, and you really don't need to watch anything else, but you're welcome to, of course, because those are the three, I think, must-sees as far as, they are very good movies. They're really fun. You know, just they're like the core, I guess, of the Star Wars pop culture, if you will. So, and they're really weird because, as far as the Star Wars timeline, it's episodes 4, 5, and 6. But as far as human timeline, those are the first 3 movies released. And then in the 90s, 2000s, they did episode 1, Phantom Menace, episode 2, Attack of the Clones, episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now, I'm a strange person where Phantom Menace is my favorite movie of the Star Wars movies. And I think a lot of it is nostalgia, and, you know, it's nostalgia. But, so that is not a popular opinion. But I recommend those 3, and, you know, if you like more recommendations, if you watch those 3, please let me know. But I think those 3 are a good place to start. It's just, they're pure classics, so, and a lot of fun. All 3 of them are a lot of fun, so, but, yeah. Yeah, some people do episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I think that's kind of the wrong way to do it because, the prequels are kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie, I love them, but in their own weird way, but they're kind of rough. Like those movies are rough, so they're not good movies. So. But I love them. I mean, they're most of the memes. So all the memes really are the prequel movies. So, oh my gosh. I want to skip over to... Is this eDNA? Okay, I want to try to find that study again. And also, if you have a shark recommendation... Yeah, the episode number... Yeah, it is confusing. It is super, super confusing. And then, oh my gosh, there's so much content now that it's there's just so much content wedged in between the episodes, but yeah, Jar Jar Binks, yeah. So there's so much content wedged in between those episodes. So just doing those 3 is a perfect starting point. It's the perfect foundation for just anything Star Wars. Everything else basically revolves around those 3. So yeah, perfect starting point. So, but yes, eDNA. So I was gonna ask. And it sounds like we've already... I think you've seen a stream with eDNA before. It's the coolest thing ever where... I guess we can kind of check this out. I was trying to find that other study. we'll check the eDNA study out. I was trying to find this other one that has really beautiful graph of sharks in different. This is it. Was that it? That's it. That's what I. Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay. All right, perfect. So it is this one. Okay, so we'll check out the eDNA study and then we'll bounce to this one. If you have a suggestion for next week's shark, by the way, please leave a comment in the chat. And I will try to think of suggestions as well. I think my only thing is let's try to avoid Carcharhinus just because we've covered a lot already. We should try to do a different kind of shark, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. But we can always do a Carcharhinus. But if there's options, I would recommend something that's like not a Carcharhinus. So let's see. So eDNA. Is an extremely cool concept where basically you can take a sample of water or like maybe of reef or sand or something. Like you take an environmental sample, and in that sample you can find trace DNA that indicates, okay, a shark has been in that area. It's crazy science. It's super cool, and it applies to terrestrial animals too. You can take samples of like plants or bark or ground samples, and you can find in those samples like trace DNA of like maybe like a deer has been through here or something. It's very helpful to find cryptic species very hard to find species like for sharks. There was a really wild study where like first-hand scuba dive sampling found 5 species. Underwater video cameras that were baited expanded that to 7 species, and then eDNA expanded that to like 13 species. Where it's like, you know, no matter how much you sample it, you're still going to miss some sharks. So it's a really cool emerging field. But we'll take a quick look at this. Comparative assessment of eDNA metabar coding and long-line deployments for laser-bank surveying across a large tropical marine park network. So we won't read the abstract because I do want to get to that other paper, but let's see. So these were stations that are off of the northwest coast of Australia, and these are stations that are sampled traditionally by longline, and then stations sampled by eDNA. And I think we're trying to figure out who's been caught. Okay, we'll turn this around. Here we go. Okay, so in this area in Australia, because of eDNA, we found general Carcharhinus, but we've got silvertip, big nose, gray reef shark, pig eye shark, spinner shark. Oh, the Australian black spot shark. This one's kind of new. Carcharhinus cotisii. Interesting. The silky shark, the creek whaler, Carcharhinus fitzroyensis. Very interesting. Bull shark, the common black tip, which is Carcharhinus lombatus, the common Australian black tip, Carcharhinus lombatus / tilstoni. Argyle, the hardnose shark, Carcharhinus macloti, the black tip reef shark, the dusky shark, sandbar shark, spot tail shark, Australian black tip shark again, tiger shark, slit eye shark, Loxodon macrorhinus, really interesting. The sickle fin lemon shark, the milk shark, Australian sharpnose, white tip reef shark, winghead shark, fun species. Scout hammerhead, great hammerhead, weasel sharks, hammerhead sharks in general, the Australian weasel shark, smooth hounds, the brown bamboo shark, tawny nurse shark, zebra shark, and these are rays. So, yep. Okay. So it's really cool. I think it's just going to give us a list of all the species that were found with eDNA. And actually, here you go. Let's see if this breaks it down into species. Oh, it does, kind of. Okay. So it does show that you're getting far more species from the eDNA method than really from like the longline method, which is kind of cool. And then here you go. Like on the left column you have eDNA, the right column you have the longline. Some species, like the black tip sharks, you get kind of equal detections. Some species you're really just getting like the longline is producing like the hardnose shark, the black tip reef shark. And then there's some species where it's just eDNA that's picking it up. Like Hemigilius australiensis just was caught from eDNA. Up here, some general Carcharhinids were caught from eDNA. The creek whaler just found from eDNA. The white-tip reef shark just found from eDNA. So it's cool to see those methods kind of working together. So, all right. I do want to check this out because I was really fascinated by this. Here we go. Phylogeography of Sharks and Rays, a global review based on life history traits and biogeographic partitions. From Sudha Katalil, Shaitan Rao, Brian W. Bowen, and Kartik Shankar. Okay, just catching up on chart. Ooh, dwarf lantern shark. Oh my gosh. I just saw that comment about the Christmas special. I forget, did I tell you guys about it? I saw it with my sick friends. Like my friends and I, we do a lot of movie nights together. And sometimes we challenge ourselves with particularly terrible things. And I don't know why we did this, but last holiday season, I think I may have told you guys this, we watched, oh gosh, I'm actually having flashbacks, the Star Wars Christmas special. I've never felt my brain disconnect from my body in such a severe way as watching that. Like, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's very comparable to Cats as far as, like, I want to get out of here. It is a horrible thing. Like, it's really bad. And it's just like it's one of those things that it has such a bad reputation that people are like it's almost like a challenge. It's like it has such a bad reputation that like I went into it thinking like it can't be that bad. Come on, it's like just some 70s junk for right after Star Wars, right? No, it's awful. It is like I've never felt my brain like get angry or like just it's so bad. It's I can't even begin. So yeah, I don't recommend it. It's really bad. You can't even find it. It's definitely not on Disney Plus, and because I think Disney had the right idea. You can't show it. I remember George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, famously wanted to burn all copies. There are some surviving. I think you can watch it on YouTube. But there are some surviving cuts because I think what we found was on YouTube. Oh my god, that was like one of the worst things I've ever seen. That was literally one of the worst things I've ever seen. So it's right up there with Cats, or I guess down there with Cats. Star Wars Christmas Special, I do not recommend. If you want to see a bad movie and you want to challenge yourself, it's not even a fun movie. Like it's so bad it's fun. If you want to challenge yourself with a bad movie, that is one of the worst things ever made. So yeah, don't watch it. But Dwarf Lantern Shark, I think we haven't actually. Let me make absolutely sure. I'm gonna check the Squaliform section. I'm pretty sure we haven't, and that's a really good pick, because that is, I think that's famously the smallest shark species. Yeah, it's so bad. Mingus, it's bad. It's really bad. I'm usually a very nice person and I see value in all things, but I don't think there's any it's just bad. We have not done the Dwarf Lantern Shark, so I think we'll go ahead and do that. So great pick. Let me make sure I've got the right species. Dwarf Lantern Shark. Because it is Hemipterus. Giant, dense scale. So many. I'm really glad you picked up Lantern Shark. There we go. Hemipterus perii. So I think this is famously the smallest shark in the world. But I believe that claim is under contention, so Hemipterus perii. Dwarf Lantern Shark. I almost went off. Dwarf Lantern Shark. Okay, awesome. Alright, great pick, Rangers. Thank you so much. So next week will be the dwarf lantern shark and March's Perii. So fantastic. So we'll wrap up tonight with this study. So here we go. Considerable research exists on the life history traits, evolutionary history, and environmental factors that shape the population genetic structure of marine organisms, including sharks and rays. Conservation concerns are particularly strong for this group as they are highly susceptible to anthropogenic stressors, so human stressors, due to a combination of life history traits including late maturity and low fecundity. Here we provide a review and synthesis of the global phylogeography of sharks and rays. We examine existing data for 40 species of sharks belonging to 17 genera and 19 species of rays belonging to 11 genera. Median joining haplotype networks were constructed for each species. For the mtDNA, so mitochondrial DNA cytochrome, see oxidase subunit, blah blah. So this DNA, okay. So haplotype, so if I'm reading this correctly, this is going to show you species complexes. So this will show like, it's the same species in name, but there's different genetic populations in different parts of the world. Haplotype networks showed very shallow coalescence in most species, a finding previously reported for marine teleost. Star topologies were predominant among sharks, while complex mutational topologies predominated among rays, a finding we attributed to extremely limited dispersal in the early life histories of rays. So it's kind of cool. Basically, it's saying that rays are more localized in their early life history than sharks. Sharks are more cosmopolitan. Population structuring varied amongst species groups, apparently due to differences in life history traits, including reproductive, philopatry, site fidelity, pelagic habitat, migratory habits, and dispersal ability. In comparison to reef-associated and demersal species, pelagic and semi-pelagic species showed lower levels of structure between and within ocean bases. As expected, there's variation between taxa and groups, but there's also some broad patterns that can guide management and conservation strategies. Okay, so kind of a mouthful, but I just wanted to take a look at some of the findings because they did catch my eye. Here we go. We'll read this for the Hardnose Shark. The only life history note is that it's live-bearing, it's reef-associated, and demersal. So it likes the coral reefs, and it kind of spends time near the bottom. Okay. Covered a lot of species. Here we go. This is what I wanted to see. I wanted to check out the haplotype network. So let's zoom in on this. This is a really nice way to end the stream too, because it's like it's just nice Shark Week kind of stuff. Alright, and I love this graph. Coastal is the palm tree, demersal is the seaweed, reef associated is a coral, semi-pelagic is the sun and sea, pelagic is the shark fin, and oceanic is the shark icon. Okay. Okay, so we'll start with Carcharhinus, the spot-tailed shark. So this is coastal and reef associated. Okay. Usually when I see these, it's showing... Okay. Haplotype network. Usually when I see these, the last time I saw a tree like this, there was speculation that if you have this like one haplotype, so this one set of DNA, and it incorporates populations from the Western Indian Ocean, Eastern Indian Ocean, Central Indian Ocean, North Pacific Ocean, South Pacific Ocean. You have these other two haplotypes that are just South Pacific Ocean. Usually when I see this, you have one portion of DNA haplotype 1, another one that's haplotype 5, another one haplotype 4. Like, depending on how distant these are related, this can suggest different populations or different species. What's kind of cool is that the blue shark, which is a cosmopolitan ocean-going species, it has just one haplotype, which makes sense. You know, it just is found all over the world. So all these different regions, the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, they're all grouped together in this one haplotype. So it means that blue sharks, like, you know, breed across the entirety of their oceanic region. They're a pelagic and oceanic shark, so it makes sense. The mako is kind of wild. So these are not necessarily like 15 different species hiding within the mako like name, but it could be maybe there are a couple species in the mako name, you know, and that would be terrifying if that's the case, because makos, as we know, are very like much critically endangered. So it's kind of wild to see all these different haplotypes here. So it's I just want to make sure I'm getting this right, because usually for species complexes they use similar graphs like this, but I just want to make sure I'm not like falsely equating the two. Haplotype. A group of genes within an organism that was inherited together from a single parent. Okay, so this is probably, it may not be strong enough to show like species level, but what we'll do is we'll read the summary for that. So also really appreciate kind of like this habitat chart, by the way. So we've got the spot-tailed shark, coastal and reef associated. This is a carpet shark, Chilisculum punctatum, coastal and reef associated, and also demersal. Big nose shark is Carcharhinus altimus, coastal and demersal. Blue shark, Carcharhinus glauca, oceanic and pelagic. The short fin mako, Isurus oxyrhynchus, coastal, pelagic, and oceanic. Finally, the tiger shark, Gallicida cuvier, coastal, pelagic, and semi-pelagic. So let's look at the discussion just to see if there's any notes about a species complex. And actually, I could probably control find complex. There we go. Complex mutational networks. Oh, did the music stop? Oh, I had the Abzu soundtrack playing, so which is a very relaxing ocean game. So it's saying complex mutational topology, but it's I want to see if there's like species complex. They have one species complex for a ray, but that's a cited study, so okay, so this is not quite what I thought it was going to be. Okay, well, I was just curious about that, so not exactly what I thought it was going to be. So I think since we're almost at 11, we might want to wrap up soon. Just want to make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing, because I think the studies that we covered were the most interesting from... Oh, here we go. One last thing. So, one last thing. Decline of coastal apex shark populations over the past half century. So, it's kind of a sobering note to end on, but it is kind of interesting to kind of show this in detail. So we have the hammerhead sharks, which are a wide variety of species. This is a great hammerhead in the photo. Whaler sharks is the bull shark in the photo, the tiger shark and the white shark. The first graph is catch per unit effort. in nets and drumlines. So this is the amount of sharks that are caught over the years. As you can see, from 1960 onward, all of these species, with the exception of the tiger shark, have had pretty steep declines. So hammerhead shark, 92%, whaler sharks, 82%, white shark, 92%, tiger shark, 74%, but it wasn't really caught often in the nets anyway. The second one is annual zero catch probability. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. Yeah, sorry. The first two are catch per unit effort in the net and drumline. So these are different fishing gears. So the tiger shark actually had a pretty big decline as well. And then the last thing is the annual zero catch probability. So the probability of not getting this species at all has increased across the board. So it's kind of, as sobering as this is, it's kind of like a nice graph or like a nice model of like how shark populations have declined as time has gone on. So there's been a really big decline. Usually the 80s are cited as like the really big low point. But really, since you can see here, since the 60s, a lot of species are, really, a lot of the big species, decline pretty steadily. This is a really good model of that. I think that is the last one I wanted to show, or the last paper wanted to review. But, we got one more little thing on the hardnose shark, just as the FAO profile. And I think with that, we'll probably end for tonight. So, funnily enough, I'm really glad tonight was more of a conservation focused night. I wasn't really planning that. I was just planning on looking at sharks from a global perspective along with our hardnose shark. But inadvertently, some of the papers that we reviewed tonight, it brought up a lot of those important conservation concerns. And I'm actually really happy to go over that during Shark Week, where, there's sometimes they come up on the episodes, and a lot of times, the episodes just have goofy stuff going on. So I don't know, but again, I think it's a net win for sharks overall, because at least it raises awareness about, at least it gives sharks a platform in some way, and people genuinely love them and connect to them. And I'm glad, just in case this Shark Week gets a lot of silly things happening this year, I'm really glad that we spent tonight talking about their real conservation needs and talking about that tension between human interest, human need, and shark need. But we'll wrap up with just this nice FAO profile of the hardnose shark. Local names that are pretty fun: the Tum Cairo, which I really like; the Chondri, which is pretty fun; the Busa, I like the Busa; and the Droy Pishik. Busa is my favorite one. So for the hardnose shark, it lives in inshore and offshore continental waters. The distinctive characters are long, narrowly rounded, somewhat pointed snout with a hypercalcified rostrum. It can easily be felt by pinching its snout. Gotcha. So we had a hard time visually identifying it, but it's one of those things where if you touch it, So first and second dorsal fins are small with extremely long rear tips. So we did identify that pretty early on. 29 to 32 teeth in upper jaw, and 26 to 29 teeth in lower jaw. Oblique cusp, smooth edge upper teeth with strong proximal and distal cusplets. Gotcha. Gray or gray-brown above, white below. Fins with light edges but not conspicuously marked. Light flank marks not conspicuous. So, yeah. So really cool species. One I've never really heard of before, and it's kind of fun to see that of all the shark characteristics, it's not really coloration or fin positioning. It's actually the calcified rostrum, which that's a new one. That's one I've never really heard of before. So it's really cool to see that. So Pishik, yeah. I agree. The little icons are cute. And yeah, I just saw the comment about the battle for the tiniest shark. But yeah, that comment, they got the entire population of the ocean. It is very sobering, because it is like the big thing about, I know we keep saying it, but it is the big thing about shark conservation in general, is They grow slowly. They reproduce really slowly. They crashed it like 70s 80s was really the crash, and I think the 80s 90s was the beginning of like real good science kind of paying attention to them and bringing them up to the public, and kind of bringing that realization of like, it's not that sharks are just misunderstood, it's that, oh, they're actually going extinct. A lot of species are going extinct, but like a lot of them are actually doing okay. So oh, thank you. It's good to hammer that info in, though. Yeah. Like, thank you. And I think the one thing is, Shark Week has a lot of charismatic species that are really famous, like the hammerheads and the sand tiger sharks, and those sharks actually really do need help. I think the biggest one is actually for tonight that we kind of took a look at was the mako shark, where it's really unfortunate to see it is fetching a high price in certain markets, and I know in America that a lot of people, like, I don't think understand that makos need help, and that makos are not a species to really fish for. Like, you really shouldn't be going after the species because it reproduce, like, its life history characteristics make it endangered. Like, it's an endangered species that it's kind of like a panda bear at this point. Like, just don't do it. Like, just don't touch it. Just let it go. So I think makos deserve a lot more awareness, and I'm glad we got to see kind of like what is going on with them, even though it wasn't tonight's species, and we've had a mako shark stream before. It was good to kind of have a re-emphasis on the fact that, they're a charismatic species, but they're not doing well conservation-wise. So, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that, Minjas. Thank you. And like, I think most people don't know. I think that's the one thing that a lot of shark popular media, I think, gets wrong, which is there's such an overemphasis on shark attack and the sensationalism of that. And there needs to be more emphasis on the fact that, like, ironically, I mean, we're really the predator, and they are not doing well. Like, not all of them, but at least a third of them are really not doing well. Like, a third are in critical trouble, a third are, like, not great, but not awful, and a third are, like, they're fine, they're okay. And I think it's important to make that distinction, because most people, I think most of the public doesn't really understand how many sharks there are, and I think when you say sharks are endangered, it's easy to get really upset about that. But I think it's good to make that distinction of, like, there's so many of them, there's so many different kinds, many need our help, but it's not doom and gloom. There are many, like the cute fat Port Jackson shark, or even the Hardnose Shark in Australia, that are going to be okay. So we will always live in a world of sharks, but the question is what kind of sharks. So it's going to be interesting to see where the future goes, but I really appreciate that we all get to do this together, and we get to talk about outreach and like conservation, and we get to talk about the biodiversity of species. Like, on the stream, we have 78 different species. I'm really glad it's not just like a white shark playlist. It's just like, we're talking about all these different sharks and kind of seeing how each one is unique. Each one has unique conservation needs. I really like that breakdown of some are fine, some are always going to be fine, and then some really need our help. And we're giving them a bit of a platform. So, but thank you so much for watching. I think that's probably a really good note to end on for this year's Shark Week. So good luck again with your banner for the banner contest. I'm really excited to see what you make, as well as our other viewers. If I hope we get a wide variety of submissions, but if we don't, I mean, that's a really good win. So, but either way, I'm super excited. So happy Shark Week, Minjas. Happy Shark Week to anybody else watching. I know we have a couple of viewers on right now, so happy Shark Week. And happy Shark Week to any future viewers. What's kind of fun is that certain species get, after the live stream, the video, it depends on the species, but the video sometimes takes off. Our number one shark so far is the crocodile shark. That one has the most views by far, which is really fun to see. So, but anyway, all sharks are welcome. We love all sharks, and just, yeah, happy Shark Week, guys. So, But tune in next week for the Dwarf Lantern Shark. I'm very excited to go over that. Good luck again on the contest, and I will see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your Shark Week, and cheers, guys. Have a good one.